get ready with me to go sit on Zoom at my corporate job for the next 8 hours. So I love my corporate job and I love the flexibility of being able to work remotely and get to take my calls from home. So this is in no way complaining, but it does mean that I'm getting ready to basically sit on a camera that nobody looks at because it's off for like 90% of our calls. Today is an important day because we are presenting to our executive committee on a lot of projects that the team has been working on. So it is just really important that I am camera ready today, even though there are plenty of days where I may not have a single call where my camera has to be on. I know that people will hate on corporate jobs and talk all about, like the side hustle and passive income. And don't get me wrong, I think there's definitely ways that we should all be working on like maximizing how much money that we're making. But for me, I actually like weirdly love like going into an office, seeing people, working my corporate job. I don't know. So my corporate job is a lot of, I always joke it's like wrangling wet cats. I do a lot of like organizing of executive teams and coming up with strategy work. And I do a lot of like planning and financials. And while sometimes that can be kind of boring, it's also like really, really interesting for me because a lot of the time there's stuff going on with the upper levels of leadership in your company where they're talking about, big moves in the industry or big changes that are taking place in how companies are doing business. And it doesn't always trickle down to the more junior members on the team, but those conversations are most certainly happening at the top. And what's cool about my position is that while it does include a lot of slide making, it also gives me a lot of exposure to those types of conversations so that I get to know kind of what's going on, usually before it gets explained more broadly. And this makes the job like really interesting because I'm able to kind of see behind the curtain, I guess, and get a little bit of an inside glimpse of like where the company is going in the future. Now, of course, it's not always like all fun and games, and there's always a little bit of like trying to get people aligned with your ideas and playing a little bit of corporate politics. But in general, especially now that I get to work remote and I can kind of base my life around my work schedule and vice versa, rather than feeling like I'm in an office 9 to 5, I kind of dig the corporate grind. Now, I will say in the corporate grind, it is really important to establish like good boundaries with your time and with your boss. And I will say I had much more relaxed boundaries before I had kids. And now the time that I'm willing to work for a company is a lot lower. This is why it becomes really important to kind of know what's the most important to you and like what are your priorities in life, especially if you are going to work any type of job, whether this is being an entrepreneur or working for corporate, so that you can really set boundaries that are going to work for your life rather than feeling like you have to accommodate every single request. Now, the key to doing this is also to make sure that you're delivering obviously the work that you have to do within the time that you're online. So it requires learning really good prioritization practices and delegation practices so that everything that your leadership needs does get done in the amount of time that you're online. Sometimes that also means logging on a little early or a little late for a season in your work to make sure that you are meeting all of the deadlines and accommodating the things that are highest priority for your leadership. And sometimes it means just getting ready to go camera on for a big executive meeting. Thank you for getting ready with me for work.